Golf Smarter number 608 is brought to you by Leadberry. For those who want high-quality custom-fit dress shirts without paying high-quality custom-fit dress shirt prices. Stay tuned to hear about getting 20% off your first order at leadberry.com/golfsmarter. An actual live short game clinic with Josh Zander, covering chipping, pitching, bunker shots, and more.
This is Golf Smarter, sharing stories, tips, and insights from great golf minds to help you lower your score and raise your golf IQ. Here's your host, Fred Green.
I'm just going to go ahead and hand this off to Josh Zander.
Boy, what an awesome day we have here. This is like perfect Indian summer weather. This is awesome. I teach at Stanford. I also teach at Sharon Heights Country Club. I've done many clinics out here through the years, and this is actually where I qualified for the U.S. Open. So Lake Merced has a great place in my heart. 1992, 36-hole day, and it was one of the best days of my life, knowing that I got to go play in the United States Open. So that was really cool.
Where was the Open play?
It was at Pebble Beach when Tom Kite won.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I got a chance to play practice rounds with Tom Watson and Fred Couples and Larry Nelson and Don Pooley, and it was awesome. So, and this is where it all happened for me. So every time I come here, I just have a smile on my face because it brings back a lot of memories.
You might tell them how old you were then. 12?
I was 23. So that was 26 years ago. So, but my true passion is teaching, and anybody who has an open mind, willing to learn. I love people who just want to get better. And I enjoy doing it. I've been doing it since 1994, so this is my 23rd year of teaching, and I have a blast doing it. And one of my favorite things to teach is short game, because I feel like I can really help you with your score pretty quickly. And so what I'm going to do today, I'm going to go over some basic concepts, but before I start, I'd love to know from you guys what you struggle with, and then I can tailor my talk today to what you may need. So if anybody has a question, that'd be a great way to start. So I understand.
Very short bunker shot.
Short bunker shot. Okay, we'll definitely cover short bunker shots. Okay.
Shot selection to the hole.
Shot selection to the hole.
Club selection to the hole.
Club selection, shot selection. Great.
Downhill lies, like we were working on.
Uneven lies. Okay.
When you're
Different
around a green.
approach from rough off the
Rough?
The first kind of
Yeah.
tight
Yeah.
line.
So one of the things that I'm hearing here is help me assess the lie and pick the right technique and shot. Does that make sense? So how many people, when they practice with a bucket of balls hitting the same chip over and over again? Raise your hand. It's okay.
That's
Okay.
the way to do it.
That's the way to do it, right? Okay, who does it that way? Don, is that how you like your team to do it?
We practice all different shots.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we call this block practice, where we have a bucket of balls and we're hitting the same shot over and over again. So it would be like teaching math like this. What's Alan, what's 8 times 12?
I don't know.
Okay, anybody know what 8 times 12 is? 96. Okay, what's 8 times 12? What's 8 times 12? What's 8 times 12? Okay, how many times did you actually do the math in your head? One time, right? So we call that block practice, and it has its time and place, but it's not how you should spend most of your time. You should spend a little bit of your time in block practice, and then you want to do what we call random, or I like to call it just golf practice, which is different hole, different lie, just different situations all the time. So take that bucket of balls and spread it around and go through the process of assessing your lie, right? Don't give yourself that perfect one each time. Just roll it out there, pick a different target, and go through the process, right? Now you're doing math every time, and you're teaching yourself how to transfer your skill from here to what's out there, because we never get to hit the same shot twice out there unless we hit it out of bounds, right? If you're chipping the same shot over and over again, you've whiffed, right? So we're going to have a different shot every time. So practice a little bit more like you play. So that would be my advice on practicing, is spend some time doing golf practice, not block practice. So I want to just talk first about a concept which is going to help you when you are assessing lies. Okay, so understanding where the bottom of the golf swing is really important. Okay, and then we're going to want different bottoms for different situations. So if you look at how I'm swinging this club here, the low point always happens right underneath this part of the club, which is called the butt end of the club. So anything before that is swinging downward. Then there's a flat spot or a low point, and then it starts swinging upwards. Okay, does that make sense? So on some swings, we want to hit down on the ball, downhill lie, out of the rough, in the bunker. Where am I going to put the handle? Forward so I can hit down. Okay, some situations, uphill lie. Say this is the ball, and I'm on uphill lie. Where's the handle? The butt end of the club's behind, so I could swing upwards. Right, ball's sitting up on a piece of grass, and the rough sitting up top. I want to have the handle back a little bit so we can catch it on the upswing. Okay, uphill lies and lies that are fluffy are good ones to have the handle back. Okay, when we're hitting, I guess the most extreme one, we talked about it earlier with some of the people here earlier. Hitting a downhill shot out of the rough requires a very forward handle because I need to dig to get it out of the rough and I need to swing down. Okay. All right. Any questions about that concept right there? If everybody can just come around this way, because I'm going to hit some chip shots over here so you can see face on.
When you talk about a forward handle
yes.
or a backward handle, do you mean at address?
At impact. At impact.
At impact.
Now, it helps to have it there at address. Wherever you want to kind of have it at impact, I like to have it there at address. So when I'm hitting a little chip and run shot here, let me back up a second. What would be if I wanted, I'm going to go back over here a little bit. If I wanted to hit a chip shot all the way to that last flag, or if I wanted to hit, maybe I'll just say it this way. If I wanted to hit a shot at that last flag over here, what club should I choose? 8-iron. Wait, who just said something? What did you say?
I said putter.
Putter. That's awesome. That's exactly what we should do. How many people here have chunked or sculled a putt?
I am.
Okay, so 1 out of 20. Okay, chunked a putt. Okay, how many people have chunked a chip? Come on, be honest.
Yeah.
How many people have sculled a chip? Okay, so if I putted this, right, it's really hard to miss a putt. Right, so that's a pretty simple way to accomplish that task. Now, if you got your sand wedged out and you chipped it to 4 feet like that, would you like the shot?
Yeah.
Wow, great shot, Josh. Was that impressive to just roll it along the ground like that? I mean, if you went out with a friend to play miniature golf who had never putted before, they don't have any distance control, but they can make contact with the ball. So
How do you judge the fact that this part of the roll is slower than that part?
Same way you get to Carnegie Hall. You got to practice it, right? You got to get a feel for it, right? I mean, I can't tell you how hard to hit it because here it's uphill. How did I know that? I've been playing golf for 41 years and I've hit a lot of them. I know I'm going to have to hit a little bit harder. This grass is actually not that mushy and grabby, so the ball is rolling pretty nicely and it's pretty firm. So it's pretty easy, okay? Now, let's say I wanted to take away the fringe and land it on the green. Okay, what club could I choose now? 8-iron. An 8-iron sand wedge, I hear? 8-iron? Okay, so let me ask the question a little bit differently. What's the least lofted club besides a putter that I can get comfortably on the green? I'm going to call it a couple steps onto the green, right in here someplace, and have it roll like a putt. 6, 7-iron, or there's an 8-iron earlier because the green's kind of going downhill once it gets past there. So what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to put this right under here, okay? I'm going to take an 8-iron, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up like a putt. When we putt, what part of the ball do we hit? Back of the ball. I call it the side of the ball, right? We kind of hit the side of the ball, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up with an 8-iron, just like I putt. Some people like to use their putting grip. And I'm just going to putt the side of the ball. And the ball got onto the green a couple steps and then rolled like a putt. There's quite a bit of break on this left to right at the beginning, but that's basically the shot. All I did was putt with loft. Okay? Now, did anybody hear a little slight pinch on that ball, like a mini compression? Listen to the sound again. You hear that? It was a little click of the ball and then a brush of the grass. So Don, where do I have the butt end of the club? Forward or behind the ball?
It's pretty much level.
if I drew a line down from here, it'd be just a little forward, right? That would be kind of even with it. So when I put the handle forward, where does it put the bottom of my swing? Forward of the ball, right? So I'm going to take a little practice swing here, and I want you to notice where I brush the grass. I keep brushing it just past the ball, because that's where the bottom is, because that's where this is. So if I want to get a nice little pinch on this ball, you hear that nice little click, I'm going to have the handle slightly forward.
Could you address what you use the forward press for?
I use the forward press, meaning a forward-leaning shaft, for those of you who are sitting over here, to get the handle forward so the club is still descending into the golf ball. If I had the handle back, where would the bottom be? And guess where what I'm gonna do to the ball? I'm gonna top it. That's why I always bring my hula hoop. So I want the handle there, just where this piece of paper is, right? So the club is still descending as it hits the ball, bottoming out there. If I had the handle back, I'd have the bottom of the swing here and I'd catch the ball in the upswing, right? Now you might start with the handle forward, but if you try to help it up, see how I have a retreating handle and I just top the ball. See, for me, it's very simple when I look at somebody and I see, all I have to do is listen for their contact and I already know where the handle is versus where it should be. Does that make sense? So I'm just a little bump and run. Now, if I hit a bump and run to this first one here, I wouldn't want it to roll as much. What could I do? Okay, so here we're already talking about club selection. So I could use I'm going to use my gap wedge here. I'm still going to have the handle slightly forward, as I'm just using my little putting bump and run swing. Hits a little bit of ball and then brushes the grass and almost in the hole. Okay, it didn't roll as much because there's less loft. So one of the best lessons I ever got, 1986, I was a freshman at Stanford, and Tom Watson came in and gave our team a chipping clinic. And the first thing he said, and I think he was probably the second best short game player in the world behind Seve Ballesteros at the time, he said, I can't control spin. I'm thinking to myself, oh, this guy's amazing, and he can't control spin. Well, if you think about it, when you hit chip shots, you don't hit big slices and hooks. So the inaccuracy becomes short and long. Unless you're totally shanking it or something, then it's going to go way off. But if you're hitting it somewhat solidly, the difference is distance control, right? So what he was basically saying is, I'd rather have the ball tumble over end over end rather than check up on me, because I can't judge how much it's going to check up on me, right? So hitting that putt from over here, I really didn't have to account for much backspin, right? So I'm always thinking, what's the least lofted club I can accomplish this task with? So if you're ever wondering, okay, what should I choose? Like, well, can I putt it? And okay, if I can't putt it, can I chip it with a 7-iron? Can I chip it with an 8-iron? I just kind of work my way in my head from as little loft to more loft. So it's putting first, then chipping, then pitching, which we'll talk about here in a second, and last would be the old Phil Mickelson lob shot. Okay?
Question.
Yeah.
You always trying to land it on the green?
Not always. I mean, in this case, if I could have easily just putted this one, right, and just gotten it close to the hole that way.
What's your philosophy when it comes to a distance shot, any distance, on 2/3, 1/3? 2/3 let it roll, 1/3 get it on.
I've never been that person. I like the concept of, okay, I want it a certain amount in the air, a certain amount on the ground, but I don't think that's how athletes actually do it. If I was going to toss the ball to this hole right here, I didn't think how much time in the air, how much time on the ground. Okay. I just imagine the shot and I let it go. Okay. Right? So the other thing is, I know I've been taught, when I was a junior, okay, your 7-iron will go 1/4 in the air, 3/4 on the ground. Your pitching wedge goes half in the air, half on the ground. The thing is, that doesn't account for so many variables in golf. How soft or how hard is the green? Am I chipping uphill? Am I chipping downhill? There's so many variables that it's just like that's just way too cookie cutter to be functional to get the ball in the hole or up and down. Yeah.
With this type of grass,
yeah.
Don't you always just putt? I mean, are you talking about using those wedges when you're in deeper grass? Is that it? Because here I don't see the difference between going to the last one, to the first one, the second one. You can always putt it.
You're just making my point, right? You could always putt it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you said that you have to choose which club you want.
Yeah, if you want to take the fringe out of play.
If this is the grass.
Yeah. Yeah, if this is the grass, I'd say putt it, unless you're a really good chipper.
Unless it's different grass. It's a little long.
Yeah, or if you're a really good chipper and you say, you know what, it is a challenge to get my distance control putting through 12 feet of fringe and then 15 or 18 feet of, and I want to take the fringe out of play. Like for me, if I was here, I would chip it with my gap wedge to this hole. I would probably go with my 8-iron to that hole. But I don't chunk and skull my chips. But if I did, I'd have that putter in my hand as much as possible. But if you told me, hey, you know what, you're right here, and you need 2 shots to win the U.S. Open, I'm probably going to putt that. Because my hands would probably be like this if I had a.
Why would you use the gap for this and the 8-iron for the?
Because I want more roll. And less loft is more roll. Because there's less backspin on the ball.
Do you use the same stroke, take the club just as far back as you do, and distance control is just the elevation of the club?
Right. So the answer is close, but not always. I need enough swing to land it on the part of the green I want to land it on. It would be kind of like if you and I played catch, and I said to you, okay, now I'm going to be over here. Is the motion going to be a little bit different? Yeah. Are you thinking about it being different? Probably not. You're just probably looking at me. So here's one of the things that we're not doing putting today, but one of my pet peeves when I watch people putt and they say, you know, I'm 3-putting, my distance control is awful, and their practice strokes are right here. Beautiful practice strokes. Nothing to do, not paying any attention to the hole. Right? If you watch those guys at the President's Cup and they're going to hit a little chip shot, look where my attention is. Ball's not moving. I don't need to look down here to see if I'm making a good stroke. I'm over there, right? My attention is over there so I can roll the ball the proper distance and chip the ball the proper distance, right? If I was going to use this one, let's say there was a bunker or something in the way, I'm going to fly a little farther onto the green. Doesn't that swing look a little different? It looked a little bigger, right? Because I need to get it all the way over there and fly it farther, right? So my attention's over there. Greg Norman at it was the Olympic Club US Open 87, I think it was. He was at the short game area doing this. And he was just watching how balls were reacting on the greens. Attention to the target, okay? If your technique gets good enough where you're making solid contact, you need to spend more of your time over there, less of your time here, okay? Now, it's easy to say if your contact's good. Never, ever have the leading edge of the club below the bounce, so you can have a forgiving bottom of the swing. And what do I mean by that? I'll use a wedge that has numbers on it. So here's my 54-degree wedge with 10 degrees of bounce on it. Bounce is this trailing edge right here, the low point of the club. That allows the club to slide. As I lean the shaft forward, I am now taking away bounce and putting leading edge into the ground. So notice how that is starting to penetrate the ground and dig, right? I don't ever want to chip with so much forward lean that I've eliminated bounce on my club. So most clubs don't say this on them. You're usually from wedge on down, you don't have your bounce on there, but you can tell when you're starting to dig your club in the ground. So I saw some people chipping this morning and it was like this. I'm like, and I told Rob, where's Rob? Is he Rob? Yeah, so Rob, that guy's got no chance unless he scoops just enough to get rid of that leading edge. So I like to have what I call a disaster-free short game. So if I'm chipping over here and I want a little forward lean on my club, it won't be enough forward lean to dig. So I'm going to purposely mess up and hit the ground behind the ball here. What just happened? Who'll take that? 2.5, 3 feet from here. Okay, and I just missed my spot by about 3 inches. What saved me?
Bounce of the club?
The bounce of the club just saved me. There, I just mishit one and it went in the hole. Almost in the hole. Okay? So if you learn nothing else today, understand how the bounce is your friend. The bounce allows the club to slide for a few inches along the ground so you don't have to be perfect. And what I like about not having to be perfect is that now I can put my attention over there. like I'm playing catch with you and I'm playing catch with you, or if I'm playing catch somebody way on the other side of the green, my motion just changed. Okay? Any questions about that? How about
the image of tossing the ball
yeah.
rather than hitting the shot?
I think tossing the ball is so important because you toss with your trail hand, and if I put the club in my trail hand, I keep loft on it and I keep bounce on it. When I get too much with my lead hand, I take loft away and I dig. So now I'm hitting low liners and chunks.
Is that what you should be thinking about, is hitting with your right hand to avoid that?
If you're righty, yes. So this is a perfect segue into pitching. So where do I want, we talked about chipping and putting, we're kind of hitting the side of the ball. Where are we trying to hit the ball when we're pitching? High soft shots. Bottom of the ball, very good. So if I'm trying to hit the bottom of the ball, I actually need to have my club on the ground before I hit the ball. It's kind of like if my watch is the ball and here's the ground. If I'm a base stealer and I'm running from first to second, I start my slide just before the bag, right? I don't run to the bag and then try to slide, right? So I'm going to call using this bounce, having the club slide along the ground, and I want that club to start its slide just behind the ball, so now the club can get to the bottom of the ball. I'll use my most lofted wedge for this because I'm going to try to hit a high one. So now let's say we're going over that to that far one. I'm going to put the ball where in my stance? Or a better question is, where should I put this end of the club relative to the ball?
Just behind it?
Just behind it, because that's where I want the bottom of my swing. I think that there's probably 3 to 4 fingers of space from here to here where I could land my club. So I'm going to put the handle back there. I'm going to land the club right there. And the club slides under the ball, and I got a nice high soft one over the bunker. Okay? Notice there's no evidence that I've been there because the club just slid. There shouldn't be any divots in the short game area. Ever.
Are you thinking about hitting with your right hand, your trail hand?
Just like this. So if I was on my cell phone, right, just pitching with my right hand, right, it would be just as easy as if I pitched it just with my left, right? My left's really hard. Yeah. So it's a good excuse. Are you allowed to use cell phones out here at Lake Merced? It's a Monday, right? It's not officially a Lake Merced day. So I was talking to Rob earlier about this. When I pitch, I feel like I've taken duct tape and put it on my right arm. And look at that. I've got a trailing handle behind the ball. And what do I have in my face? Loft. I've got loft on my face. And if I have loft, at least the amount that I start with, or maybe a little more, I've got plenty of bounce.
But you know, Rob, there are plenty of us that have loft. That's our problem. You know what loft is?
Yes, I do, but it's not good. I'm on a podcast right now, so I can't say it.
Okay.
But we all know what the F is in loft. So here's the thing. If you have a problem with your talent level, why wouldn't you want something that's more forgiving, right? I want something that's sliding along the ground so the club can slide to the bottom of the ball. So that to me is pitching. Now somebody once asked, well, not many times, they've asked me, well, where should my weight be when I pitch? More on the front foot. That was on my back foot. This one's on my front foot. I don't really care, tell you the truth, as long as this is behind the ball. Now, if I'm writing a book, I'm going to say put it on the front foot so I don't have 20 million golf pros call me saying I don't know what I'm talking about. But that's all I really care about.
So on that chip, is your left arm fairly passive?
Yeah.
I think it's mostly right?
Yeah. Great. That's awesome question. So yes, I feel like my left arm is very passive and soft. And one of my favorite drills is if I took my left hand, and everybody, why don't you all do this with me? Put your left hand just by your left pocket with your palm like this. And if you're righty, if not, just switch what I say. Take your right hand and slap yourself 5, just like that. That's palm up, right? You haven't rolled the face over. And notice where my elbow is. It's behind the seam of my shirt. So at the end of a pitch shot, this is what I look like. Right here. You ever see a guy pitch on the PGA Tour? Just pitches it over a bunker and they look like this. The right palm is up, the face is open, and the left elbow is behind the seam of your shirt. Right, just like that. Right, that way I've kept what I like to call constant loft on the face. Please, please never roll the face over. If the left arm isn't soft and it's firm, then the only way to get the club around is to roll it over, and now I have just produced a digging club with not much loft on it. Not a great way to pitch the ball, not very forgiving at all. Okay, so pitch with your trail hand, just like that. Have this end of the club behind the ball. The club will slide. I hit 3 inches behind that ball. Okay, that's pitching off of and these are fairly tight lies. So I should mention one thing about that is, if you've got a club with more than 10 degrees of bounce, please don't open the face on this too much. Because when you start opening the face and adding more bounce, that's going to skip off that hard pack, and that's going to go in the middle of the ball, and you're going to blade them. Also, please don't try to help the ball up. That's what the loft is for. So this is very common, is trying to help it up, and now where is this end of the club? Way too far behind, so I'm going to catch it on the upswing. Okay. The other thing I would say is, if you swing, go over here so everybody can see, if you swing too much in to out, this was Peter earlier today, picking on you, Peter, but you fixed it because you're a good athlete in one swing. He did it on the very next swing, right? His swing was going too much in to out, so he put the bottom of his swing behind the ball and he was drop kicking into the ball. So we got him to swing what felt like this to get him back to neutral, so the bottom of the swing was in a more reasonable place. Okay, so if you get too much inside, you're going to have problems with the bottom of your swing. If you get too outside, you're going to have problems with the bottom of your swing. Okay, and a good drill for that is just take an alignment stick or another club, put it on the ground, and feel like as you take the club back, the club stays the same distance away from the stick from your point of view here. So if you get too much distance in there, you're going to be hitting the ground behind the ball. So let the club come up the plane like that and then back around. Okay? So that's chipping and pitching off of a fairly, call it easy, level, not much rough lie. Okay? Let's talk about pitching out of heavier grass. Yep. You guys are free to ask questions along the way.
Try and do with the ball above your feet.
Okay. Okay, so this ball is down in the grass. Okay, where should I put my handle?
Little in front.
A little in front. Very good. Why should I put my handle in front?
Want to hit down?
Because I want to hit down. It's a smart group of people. I love it.
And they're all Jewish.
Well, that goes, it's part of the deal. It's in the genes. All right, so I was able to dig that ball out of that hole because the handle was forward. Let's just play around with the handle being too far back. And I just topped it because the club was on the upswing. All right? So the worse the lie, way down there, the more I'm going to get the handle forward to dig out of there.
And just show that handle movement from right to wrong, kind of how we're sitting.
So correct,
Yeah.
incorrect out of rough. When the ball's down in the rough, not when the ball is sitting up on top of the grass. That's a different story. But when the ball's down in the rough. So a couple years ago,
The same by just putting it back into the stance.
putting it back in the stance makes it easy to have this forward, doesn't it? So that would be a good place for the ball position. So when I talk about ball position, it's more really how does it put this relative to it based on the lie. Yeah. Now, what if I had to hit a high soft one out of a buried lie down there? If I put the ball too far back in my stance, it's going to be hard to hit it high. So I'm going to open the face, still have the handle a little forward, and now I've hit a high soft one out of a buried lie. Okay, so I let the face do it, and I didn't have the ball too far back, but I still had the handle forward so I could be digging the ball out of there.
You had a little more speed going through.
A little more speed, yeah. So I was going to mention that.
I've seen a lot. They stop. They get to here and they stop.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. So a couple years ago, Patrick Rogers is on the tour now. He was our #1 player at Stanford a few years ago, and he was at the Stanford practice facility hitting some shots out of deep rough like this. And every time he finished his swing, his club looked like you could put a can of soda on top of it. His wrists were very firm, so it kind of looked like this. Hinged up, handle was ahead, hinged up, and then his face looked like this. And then he's at the John Deere, which he almost won this year, hits it to the right of the hole, short sides himself, and the announcer's like, oh, he's got a bad lie deep in the rough. He's going to have to hit a high soft one out here. It's going to be really tough. And I just started smiling. Like, I've seen him do this, and he made it. I've got it on video if anyone wants to see it later. Just like that. So that is the same thing I'm going to do in here. So regular lie in the bunker. I'll just go right over to the same one. So who has heard that you need to hit behind the ball in the bunker? You always hear 2 inches behind the ball. So somewhere there, a couple inches behind the ball. Now, should that be the bottom of the swing? Don's going like this, no. But for a lot of people, like, oh, hit behind the ball. Let me put the ball forward in my stance. Now this is behind the ball, and this is going to go sailing because I had the club catching it on the upswing, right? By the way, that's how I hit my fairway bunker shots. I like to catch the ball in the upswing if the lie is allowing me to do that, and then I can hit it just as far as if I hit it off the grass. Okay? So you can see the club never entered there. It was already bottomed out here. It was catching the ball in the upswing. That's why it sculled. So I'm going to show you a mini version of a perfect bunker shot. I'm going to set the handle forward, which means the bottom of the swing is now there. And here it is. I'm going to hit this about a foot, 3 feet. Okay, can everybody see how the bottom of the swing was there? It entered here, but the bottom's there. Okay? I see some puzzled looks. Does that make sense? Okay? All right, so when I get in the bunker, I don't even worry about the 2 inches behind. I know that if the handle's forward, the club will be descending at that point. To hit a nice high soft bunker shot. So you can.
Where are your eyes looking at address?
I don't think about that, but if anything, I'd want it to look at where the bottom is. That sounds almost heretical. Is that the right word? Like heresy? Because I'm trying to hit the ground behind the ball, but that's not where the bottom is. The bottom is past the ball.
Josh, what about setup? Are you open, square, shut?
Okay. Very good question. Alan, can you? I'll get this. I want to use a little prop to show you this. So I have a pet peeve. I don't like my bunker shots to kick to the right when they land. Anybody have that on their bunker shots? Because you're opening your stance and coming across it. So when you open your face in the bunker, I'm going to use Peter as my target. That club face is dead square. If I open the face, it points to the right. Now watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to lower the handle. Now it's pointing back at Peter. If you have a ball that's above your feet, see how the face points to my left? Below my feet, it points to my right. So whenever you lower a handle, you send the face more left. So if I'm going to open the face, and I don't want this ball to spin to the right, I'm going to lower the handle. Now I have a lofted club with a square face, even though it looks bizarre. Okay? So I'll go ahead and hit a shot to this one on the left, or the middle one here, with the handle low. And we shouldn't see, unless the green kicks it to the right, we shouldn't see that left to right English on the ball. So nice low handle. That thing kind of releases straight, right? Okay, so I kind of want to hold my bunker shots. And if I want to get the height, I need an open face, but if I have an open face, I don't want it to go right on me. I want it to go straight. I did a Golf Channel Academy or something on this about 15 years ago. I said, I want you to open the face but lower the handle so we don't have bunker shots that kick to the right, and I also don't want you to open your stance. I don't like this and this. And they entitled it for me, they said, Unconventional Bunker Advice. Right? And then about a month ago, I'm listening to Johnny Miller on TV, and he's like, you know, guys these days aren't opening their stance in the bunker anymore. Right? You could actually hit a nice bunker shot from as closed a stance as possible. That thing's not going to have any left-right English on it. So the idea of opening your stance to offset an open face is just going to cause you a lot of trouble. Now we got a glancing blow with an open face, and I've seen people make huge swings and leave it like a foot in front of them. No. The other thing I'd say out of the bunker is you need about 3 times the energy level to get the ball to go the same distance. So if I'm trying to hit this ball 10 yards here, I need 30 yards of effort to get it there, because I'm actually not hitting ball, right? Impact on a bunker looks like this. It's like a cushion of sand between your club face and the ball. So you can change clubs in the bunker to hit at different distances. You can change effort levels. What I never want to see, and somebody asked earlier about a short bunker shot, I never want to see short bunker shots with small swings. A small swing does not have enough angle to get the club swinging downward. So if I want to hit a short bunker shot, I'll purposely not even get it out here. I might open the face more. I might grip down a little bit. My effort level gets softer. I don't make a shorter swing because that doesn't give me the angle to get under it.
So to have the club lower, are you bending your knees more?
I'm standing farther and lowering the handle. If you want to pitch it with your 4-iron or 5-iron, you'd have to open the face and lower the handle. I can show you that one later when we get out of the bunker. So Seve Ballesteros learned how to hit pitch shots with his 3-iron. All he did was open the face, lower the handle. Now he's got a more loft than your lob wedge. If I have a buried lie in the bunker, what should I do with the handle? Forward more. All right, here we go. More forward with the handle. That should not have much spin on it. Should roll out a little bit more. But look how high the ball went. I still had the face open. I just put the handle more forward. There's another way of hitting shots out of buried lies, which also works, which is close the club face. Why does closing the club face work? It makes it steeper, right? So if my hand's the ground and I close the face, can you see how that just made the club dig? Steeper club, right? So if I close the face here, that also gets it out. But I don't like the fact that it doesn't get it out as high. So I'm not a big fan of that, but that does work. For those of you who have trouble opening your face, I would recommend that for buried lies.
Isn't that, Josh, what you use if you're up in the lip of the trap and you're buried?
So if I'm in one of these, right? Yeah. I actually don't have to close my face, because what's going to allow me to dig? Handle forward. The other thing is, let's say I was teaching you how to hit uneven lies out of the fairway, and you had a lie like this, I would say, well, get your shoulders with the slope, right? Well, if I get my shoulders with the slope and the handle slightly ahead, that's enough to dig it out of there. Or, if this is too awkward, you could dig by not being with the slope, right? So I could actually hit this one, instead of being all the way this way, just by being more level. I'm not even going to put the handle forward. Where'd that one end up? I couldn't see it. About 5 feet, right? So look how much I dug, because the steep angle was not being neutral to the slope. I was this way to the slope, and that dug the club in. So I always think to myself, when I'm assessing a lie, do I need to be shallow, do I need to be neutral, or do I need to be steep? And if I need to be steep, I'm going to put steepening angles. If I have this shot uphill, if I get my shoulders with the slope here and the handle back, I'm probably going to thin it, right? Okay, so I could do one of two things to steepen the hit. I could put the handle a little forward, or I could just not be as tilted. I personally like to not be as tilted because that gives me better balance. So I should be able to get that one out of there, no problem. And then it becomes, once I decide what I need to do, then it becomes an effort level thing. And I have people practice on a scale of 1 to 10. Show me a 10 effort level, show me a 1, show me a 3, and all of a sudden they start seeing these different distances come out of the bunker. So not every shot's the same.
Downhill lie?
Downhill lie out of the bunker. Okay, so in the bunker we want to dig, and what do we want to do on a downhill lie? Swing up or down?
Down.
We want to swing down. So we're on a downhill lie, handle forward. Now it's going to come out lower and run. Shoulders with the slope, handle forward. And it'll come out lower and it should release a little bit. Right? Well, I needed to go farther because I needed to carry it more. So if I needed to carry it, in this case 20 yards, what's my effort level swing? 20 times 3 is 60. So I feel like I could hit it 60 yards with my lob wedge. It's a pretty big swing.
Would you change clubs if you have a longer way to go?
Yes, I could change clubs. That would be another way to do it. I didn't here because I want all the loft from my lob wedge, because I know that hitting down is going to launch my ball lower. So I decided to keep the loft and swing harder. I could have taken a less lofted club, wouldn't have to swing as hard, but it's now going to come out way too low and probably run into the bunker on the other side of the green. We could go down to the range and I could talk about hitting 40, 50, 60, 70 yard, those kind of in-between wedges. Who wants to go do distance wedges? Raise your hand. All right, I think we got a majority. Let's head on down to the range. Okay, so there comes a point where pitching it, these little high soft ones around the green, it's not going to get you there. And then we have to move to a distance wedge. If I was trying to hit just a little pitch shot over a bunker, I'm back here, hands behind the ball, slide it under. But right at about 30 yards is probably as far as I'm going to go with that. At this point, I have to move to more of a full swing impact position. Where are your hands on a full swing at impact? Slightly forward, okay? Now, with these distance wedges, you don't really have enough time to generate a pressure shift from your right to your left. So I'm going to start with my weight on my left foot and already have the handle ahead and basically feel like I'm pivoting, not very well, around my left foot. Handle forward, pivot around my left foot. You hear the golf ball struck before the grass, okay? So stance width is important here because the more width you have with your right foot, the more you're putting your center and the handle behind the ball. So you don't see me with a very wide stance. The ball is slightly back of the handle, and I keep my weight on my left foot. And then what I do is I vary the length of my backswing to make the ball go different distances. So I'll show you on my club here I have 3 numbers, 35, 64, and 100. These are different length backswings. Dave Pels taught me years ago the 7:30, 9 o'clock, and 10:30 swings, and to this day I still use them. Back when I was playing professionally, I had the 3 different backswings, but I had full length, 1 inch of gripping down and 2 inches of gripping down. So I had 9 distances I could hit with each wedge, and I did it for 4 wedges. So I had 36 distances I could hit within about 140 yards that I knew I could land on the number. And that was what probably helped me qualify for the US Open, because I birdied the par 5s by being able to wedge it close. Okay, so once you have this, you want to use these as reference points. Now I have on all my wedges, and let's say this has 64. Let's say I have 68 yards. Well, if I know this is 64, I know 68 is just a little bigger. And this is where my ball lands, not where it ends up. So if I'm hitting into some really firm greens, I know I'm going to get a kick. But it gives me a reference point as to how far my ball is going to go. I was at the World Match Play a couple years ago at Harding Park, and some of the guys had these cones. They just put them at every 10 yards, and they were practicing their wedges. Yesterday I was watching the President's Cup, and Kevin Chappell had a shot, and you could hear him talking about with his caddy. He had a little wedge shot, and the caddy's like, land at 63 on the shadow of the flag. Right, 63. It wasn't like, you know, it's kind of a smooth wedge. No, it's 63, and he knows what 63 is. That's not like, you ask any tour player, they know exactly how far their wedges are going to go. And that's why you see them birdie so much from within 100 yards. And it becomes a distance control contest, right? It's not about, you don't really hook and slice your wedge because there's so much loft on it, which we can get into another time when we do a clinic on full swing. But there's enough loft that the ball goes pretty straight. The driver doesn't go very straight because there's not as much loft on it, okay, and the ball goes farther. Right. The other thing I would say is the best wedge players take a very shallow divot, right? And so they have what we call a wide swing. And I'll share a story. Matt Kuchar went to take a lesson from Lee Trevino, who's a great wedge player. and Trevino, you know, he got up there. He's like, "All right, Matt, go ahead and hit one for me." And Matt went into his backswing, and Trevino said, "Stop." And so he stopped right there. He goes, "Can you touch your club head with your right hand?" And he said, "Yeah, no problem." He goes, "That's why you suck at wedges." He wanted more width. Okay, so it's kind of like this. Less wrist hinge, like a Steve Stricker or Jason Day, makes the whole swing wider. So I'm going to call this the bottom of the swing. And the bottom could be narrow with steep sides, shallow with wide sides. The more you cock your wrists up and the narrower you are, the deeper and steeper your impact is. Sorry, Rob. It does grow back. Okay? If you go more like a Steve Stricker or Jason Day, you end up with shallower divots. Almost like you're hitting it a groove thin on the face. See that? They just barely took a divot. And the way I did that was by being wider. I didn't have all that wrist hinge. If I get that wrist hinge, I'm going to have to throw it away. So I'm going to try to go as little hinge as I can and just scrape the top of the grass.
Are you trying to put backspin on it?
No, I'm not.
How do you do that?
The answer is I will get backspin on it, and I will get more backspin on it the lower on the face I hit it. So I'll get a little technical here for a second. There's something called a gear effect. And a gear effect is when one gear goes one way, the other gear goes the other way. When a ball strikes a little bit low, you can see my grass marks are low on the face. When it strikes a little low on the face, it de-lofts the club. You can imagine that physics-wise doing that, right? So that's going to launch the ball lower, and if this gear is doing this, the ball is the other gear. So here's the loft going like this, and the ball is spinning. It's kind of like when you scull a bunker shot. If you have a chance to see how the ball lands, it's got a lot of spin on it. That's the gear effect spin. So this club has 54 degrees of loft on it. It's launching probably at 30 with a lot of spin on it, which means I've got less loft than I started with, and it's got gear effect. And 30 is about what tour players are gunning for as far as what they launch their ball at. So you'll see a shot where the ball comes off kind of low. That's going to take one hop, and then it'll grab on that next hop. Yeah.
On a 60-yard shot,
yeah.
For instance, with that clip, how would you hold your shoulders? Your weight's on your left.
My weight's on my left foot because that's going to make it easier to have the handle a little forward. And my shoulders are going to be no more tilted than my right hand's below my left. I definitely don't want to do this because that makes me hit up on it too much. I should have also mentioned that in chipping. One of my favorite things to tell people, because it helps so many people, is take your lead arm and bend it, because that gets this left shoulder down. If you get chipping this way, you're going to hit up on it too much. But if you let this lead arm come down, which is why when I putt and I give putting lessons, I say get your elbows in here which softens your left arm, and now you can see my shoulders aren't nearly as tilted. If I get this way and I straighten out my lead arm, it's going to be hard to make good contact. So the other thing I would say about wedges, since we're trying to launch them lower, don't take your lob wedge and make full swings. What we found with research is that when you have more than 50 degrees aloft on your club face at impact, the ball tends to slip up the face, and you might make that swing that goes 30 yards when you're trying to make it go 60. It doesn't come off the face very well. The other thing I'd say about wedges is a plug for buying new wedges. After about 50 rounds, your wedges are done as far as performance. So if you've had your wedges for 4 or 5 years and you're an avid player, you're not getting the performance that you want out of your wedges. So I probably changed my wedges out more than any other club.
Josh?
Yeah.
People talk about getting rust on their wedges and it helps.
Yeah, a little bit of that friction helps. Helps spin. Yeah, we did this.
Is that an old club with rust that's been?
Yeah, I mean, if you can get a new club with fresh grooves, rust on it, a little sand on it. By the way, there's no rule that says you have to clean your club after you hit a bunker shot. You'll get more spin with a club that's got some more friction on it. Just saying. You don't have to. Now, you can't go into the bunker and do that before you hit a shot, but you can actually leave the sand on your club. Then if you want to clean it, fine. So when you get to the golf course, I'll tell you right now, you've brought whatever skill level you have. You're not going to find your swing on the range and all of a sudden become a better player than you are. You have literally brought your set of skills, whatever you've practiced, to the golf course, okay? So the purpose of the range is to, I would say the purpose of the range is to loosen up a little bit, but I would say loosen up even before you get to the range. So I call it warming up to hit balls, not hitting balls to warm up. So go to the parking lot, walk around a little bit, a little brisk jog. Whenever I get to the golf course in the morning, I always warm my body up with some sort of jog, skipping, jumping, anything to get the juices flowing where I get a little bit of a sweat going. Then I go through a little stretching, and none of the stretching I do is static. It's all active stretching. So if I'm going to stretch my quads, I'm walking down the fairway, stretching my quads, stretching my hips. I don't hold anything because I'm looking for things to fire, not things to go dormant on me. After a round, you can go ahead and do your static stretching if you want. So I would say get here early enough where you can get a little bit of body warmed up, hit a few balls to kind of see what your shot shape is for the day, and then go spend time on the green figuring out how fast the greens are. So you don't get up to the first hole after not hitting a putt and 3-putt it because you hit it 10 feet past. You're like, whoa, the greens are fast today. It's like, well, you could have spent a little time on the green. So when I was playing professionally, I got there an hour and a half early so I could do all that. I wanted to be able to warm up my body. I always started on the putting green because I wanted to get a feel for the speed. Then I went and hit balls, 15 minutes, probably max. Then got back to the putting and chipping green and just worked on my short game until it was time to tee off. What ball should you play as a mediocre player? The white ones.
They have a lot of colors now.
A lot of them. Make sure you have enough. So a lot of it has to do with your club head speed. If you go get fitted, if you're getting fitted ideally in a place where they can actually use different balls, you're going to get a ball matched to your swing speed, matched to your club. But having said that, I would say it almost doesn't make a difference when you're a mediocre player. You know, they'll tell you this is for this speed, this is for that speed. I mean, Pro V1s and Pro V1Xs are, I'm a Titleist guy, but there's plenty of other good balls out there too. It's not that big of a deal. If you're looking for, well, I'd say, here's one thing I would say. If you're a mediocre player, you're probably not getting to greens in regulation, right? Which puts the short game as something that you want to be really good at. And for short games, I like a little softer ball. Now, you're losing a little bit of distance, but you're not getting to the green anyway. So you might as well have something that's, and I think people look at it the other way. It's like, well, I don't hit it far enough. I need this ball that goes farther, right? Well, if you're not getting to the green anyway, you might want something that's a little softer so you can have a little more touch around the greens. I don't have cards. ZanderGolf.com. If you want to get in touch with me, that's the best way to do it. Thank you all for coming out. Have a great day. Enjoy.
I think that translated very well to audio. I hope that you did too, and that you can go back, listen, and get a lot more out of it. So last week in our conversation with Josh, we posted a video of him giving a great little short tip. And this week we have another with Josh that's actually a tease of this episode and how to practice on the range. It's on our youtube.com/GolfSmarter TV channel or on the homepage at golfsmarter.com. You know, if you're like me, you play as much golf as you can despite working full time. And if you're also like me, finding the perfect button-down shirt that fits right, isn't baggy, and doesn't look cheap is a challenge. You know, my father, I've never talked about this, my father and his brothers had men's clothing stores when I was a kid. So looking fashionably presentable before leaving the house was always emphasized. But over the years, I've learned that there's a huge difference between fashion and style. Fashion is wearing clothes to fit in with everyone else. Style is looking like you want to look no matter what's happening in magazines or TVs. So I choose not to wear the same clothes that every other guy is wearing, but I want to look good and stand apart. I just don't want to stand out. Well, when I have an important meeting or just want to look my best, wearing a great fitting, high quality shirt is where my daily outfit begins. That's why I'm really happy to welcome Ledbury to Golf Smarter. Why Ledbury? Well, let's just start with nonstop compliments, especially from women. I've been married a long time, but I still appreciate getting compliments from those who notice me. And actually, my wife likes it too. The best part about getting a compliment is that it's usually followed up by, hey, where'd you get that shirt? Ledbury. And here's a couple reasons for Ledbury, like European quality without paying a premium. Ledbury's fabrics are sourced in Italy. Ledbury's customer service is first rate, which also means easy returns. With Ledbury, you're not dealing with a huge corporation or a call center. Last week, I spent about 15, maybe 20 minutes on the phone. Didn't demand a lot of my time, but I was talking to one of the Ledbury stylists, and my experience was impressive. He was intimately familiar with their product line, and when I described what I wanted, he provided me options which allowed me to pick exactly what I wanted. So when you have a question about an order or product, you get through to a real person right away. That's why Ledbury has received 1,000 five-star reviews. Ledbury also offers high-quality sports coats, pants, sweaters, and ties. So visit ledbury.com/golfsmarter today and use the code GolfSmarter at checkout to get 20% off your first order. Ledbury is L-E-D, B as in boy, U-R-Y. L-E-D, David, B, boy, U-R-Y. Ledbury.com/golfsmarter.